Coming up on today's episode, a quick introduction to my new production space, the long-term effects of social isolation, and what are ways to combat them. Up next on Themindhere. Hey, what is up everyone? It's Theguyhere, and welcome back to another episode of Themindhere, the bi-weekly podcast where I talk about new knowledge I've learned, projects I'm working on, and current events. Topics may be random, but I hope that with each episode you can come away with a fresh perspective on the universe. Welcome to all of you who are here for the first time. If you like my content and want to see more, please consider subscribing. Alright, to start off this episode, we're going to take a quick tour of the new setup that I have, if you can see on the video version of this podcast. If not, then bear with me for a little bit while I describe as much as I can the new setup. So this change came from because I got some new equipment actually. Right now I'm recording on a new camera. As you can see, I'm no longer using my phone for recording. That's what I was using previously, and it was just because it was a good camera. I didn't want to invest a lot into another camera, and it just made sense. But unfortunately it was a hassle because sometimes if I need to use the phone while I was recording or possibly streaming, whatever, it just made it hard, and then transferring the data back and forth just didn't make sense. So now I am using a Logitech, what is it, C922. It's basically a webcam, but it can record in 1080p, so that's what I'm using. And it's actually a dual purpose because the new laptop that I got doesn't have a webcam, because this is the Zephyrus G14. This laptop is quite a mighty small beast. It's 14 inches, but it has the 3060, I believe, GPU. So basically it's just really good for high-end graphics, games that have good graphics. Also just video processing. That's going to be important because it has a better CPU as well. The processor is better than the laptop I was originally using. Basically it's just built for more of a workstation / gaming. But this is going to help so that I can, when I'm actually editing videos, I can actually see what's going on and make some better adjustments. So look forward to some higher quality videos on that end, and possibly improved audio too, with the ability to just be able to do more and multi-focused, multitask on the laptop, right? Again, this mic is just nothing new there. You have to excuse the noise out there. But so the mic is just what I've had. I just moved it into a different position to fit this space. But overall, because I got this new stuff, I was looking at where I would put this, right, compared to my original setup. And I realized that it wasn't going to work in that space. So what I did was I actually moved this into my bedroom. This is the actual room I sleep in. So the room I recorded previously in, that was actually just like a space, a room somewhere, like an upstairs office space, basically. So I was using that to record because no one else was using it. The desk was there, and it just made sense, right? But I looked at it, I was like, maybe I can compress things down a little bit to make things easier for me. So I looked at my bedroom and I decided, you know what, if I remove a few things, I can fit this desk in and get the entire setup. And it's a little more homey. Back there's a little shelf I built during my senior year of high school, made out of plywood, funny enough, but just scrap plywood, made a corner shelf out of. So it's a little better background, I would say, because it's more genuine. It's my own bedroom. It has things that are actually supposed to be there and look more YouTube aesthetic compared to, I guess, I mean, it still works to be in that space where there's a white background and just things in the back, but it didn't feel personal and didn't feel that genuineness in it. So I like this overall improvement, and of course there's a lot of different other things I adjusted, minute things, but overall this is my new room and the new equipment here, so hopefully that will improve some quality. Maybe not this video or this podcast episode per se, but in the future I'll be able to use the new hardware, the new organization for better content overall, so look forward to that. All right, so the next thing I want to address here is the topic of social isolation. So again, we're gonna have to go back a little bit to what I've sort of been talking about, all the other episodes, and that was the languishing feeling that I had, the lack of progress that I feel. And again, I'm still trying to get through this to find what are some real reasons for why I'm feeling this, and maybe some solutions, right? And I think I found a promising lead, but as you'll see in future episodes, you'll realize if they work or not. But basically, I was reading about languishing, and actually, this started with an attempt to address this issue by making almost like a redemption arc video, where I would start off be like, okay, I'm in this state right now, and this is what I'm gonna do, and then be like 2 weeks later, blah blah blah, these are results. That quickly didn't get where I wanted, but I was looking back at it, I was realizing, you know what, this has been pretty cyclical. I've been trying to do something like a new project or something to try to get myself motivated and out of this languishing. That's been something that's reoccurring. Nothing new has really been happening. And as I've binged YouTube videos, I came across a few that were actually useful, not just like pure entertainment, but ones that gave some advice, right? And I'll probably link it in the cards. This one was it was about why we feel stuck, and it really addressed. I felt it addressed my situation, where it was just because I was stuck in the same place. Now, for context, I am a college student, but I've been online and at home for the entire first year. So that means I've basically been socially isolated, and I haven't been going out too much, but of the times that I did go out recently with friends, it did feel a lot better. Now, I didn't make the connection then that, oh yeah, maybe going out to different places might actually be beneficial, right? But it dawned on me after this video that, like, staying in the same place all the time, even if it's like, oh, I'm changing rooms a little bit, okay, that wasn't enough external stimuli to offer new suggestions, right? I was regurgitating old ideas, old methods, basically because I'm in the same environment, so all the thought processes are sort of the same. So no new ideas to address the issue. And when you don't get new ideas and new perspectives to look at an issue, your old perspective that got you into the issue in the first place is not going to solve it. So this was a breakthrough that I think that I really needed, because it was something that I realized, okay, I need to go out more, possibly to different places. Maybe when I work, go to coffee shops or some external place. But basically, external stimuli was something important, and also social interaction. It's really easy when you're sort of isolated by yourself physically to socially, not mentally, sure, but also socially isolate from other people, because it just takes effort to even just meet up with someone, right? If you're constantly going out, or like on campus where you have a place where people generally cross paths, or you have the same classes and you just happen to meet each other, there's a lot less effort to meeting people, right? When you're online, you have to make that effort to set up a Zoom call or something, because you're not just going to meet up somewhere randomly online. That's very improbable compared to in person, and you're in the relatively similar geological location. So that's something that I realized that I needed also. So just communication with other people a little more, possibly like scheduled communication, where like, okay, I know that like at this time we're gonna meet up for something. I haven't tried that yet. That might be something that might be worth doing. But also I've got like maybe a month or so possibly before I hopefully go off to somewhere else, and I'll share more information about that if and when information is final. But I might just rough it out a little bit for the past months. But this breakthrough that, like, okay, new places, meeting people is a good thing, that it's going to bring more inspiration to me. That's something that, it seems obvious, but when you're in the rut and you don't know what's going on, it's really hard to, as Rob Dial, a good podcaster that I know, but I listen to, says it's really hard to read the label of the cookie jar when you're inside the cookie jar, right? So you need to step out and look at it. So that it was really eye-opening to see that and to realize that I need to get external stimuli. And one thing that I was also reading about was about just how to get myself more disciplined. This video by Thomas Frank talked about cooperation and accountability. Right, accountability was something that was key to getting more self-discipline. Because if you don't feel accountable, there's no real purpose to execute and commit and carry across the tasks that you need to do. Right, so accountability is an important thing. Now, words are quite easy to say. How do you actually get accountability? He talked about several levels of accountability. I'll probably link it into the cards as well for this YouTube video if you're interested. But the different levels of accountability go from personal accountability, which is sort of like the first level. It's not as strong, but definitely still strong if you use it right, all the way to crap, I should know this, but okay. So the next few steps go like accountability partner. You have a teacher or a coach you're accountable to, and then part of a team. Yes, and then the final one is just leadership. You can check out more if you're interested in that. I thought it was a really well done video, but a few things I took away from it. What I could do is number one, have an accountability partner. I did this maybe almost a year ago, I think now. But when the pandemic started, I had an accountability partner so that I would get done the tasks I wanted to get done, read the books I wanted to read, and it worked out decently. We would basically communicate with each other every day at the evenings, okay, what did we do? Okay. And because we knew we were going to have to communicate about it, we sort of pushed each other, even though we weren't actually there, but we sort of pushed each other to do things. So that was really fun. But that might be something that's useful again, so that I can get tasks done and sort of have an actual deadline versus personal set deadlines, as a scaffold to help me build up my self-discipline. But also it can be a motivator too, where I say, okay, I need to get these different habits done, so I want to do all these habits or these tasks at these certain times, and if I don't get them done, I'll pay you $100, something like that. So something like that might help. It's one of the recommendations, the second level of accountability, an accountability partner. So that's something that I'm going to look into and hopefully take action. No, not hopefully, I will try out to see how well that works. That's one of the things that I want to, one of the ways that can help possibly with the issue of social isolation. Just have ways where people can keep accountable and interact without needing to, be in person. Asynchronous ways of keeping each other accountable and having them, still there without having them physically watching over you. And another thing that I'm actually doing is an app. I'm using an app called Fabulous. It's a free app, but there's a paid version that unlocks more features. But the free version is, from as far as I can see, pretty versatile and has a lot of different features as well. But this is sort of a habit building app and inspiration app, and there's like a small social media thing where people talk about inspiration, motivation, anything from trying to get more work done to being sober from whatever. So it's a very positive community, and I've just started using it, but the UI is pretty brilliant so far, so I'm liking that. It's not intrusive, but it feels like it's not cheesy or gimmicky in any way. Or it limits that, which some motivation apps, it's oh yeah, it's very grandiose, and you feel okay, is it really encouraging me or just saying random things? But this one, it feels a little more personalized, a little more thought out, and it claims it's backed by research, so hopefully the work of many brilliant psychologists will help out there. But so those are just different ways that I'm attempting to approach this. But with all these, what I'm doing differently here is I'm trying to reach out for other people to help. One thing that I know I have a problem with is that I like to try to do things myself as much as possible before I reach out for others. That goes with almost anything, with homework, with personal issues, whatever. I like to do things myself, knowing that I can do it, and if not, then I reach out. But this is, I think, something that it's good to reach out and get a lot of different people's feedback. That's sort of why I'm doing these podcasts a little bit. It's a way to express how I feel, and also to offer some information advice in case anyone follows a similar path and they see that, like, okay, if I end up failing and quitting the podcast, you'll have a record of what happened. What was something I can learn from this? And if I do end up being more successful and end up doing things and I keep going with the podcast, or maybe quit it at some point to pursue other things, you'll be able to see, okay, what happened here, the progression of it, sort of a little archive of information where anyone can come and watch or listen to and maybe gain something new from it, even if it wasn't something I intended. Maybe you just listen to something and realize, okay, hey, maybe I can improve in this aspect. Hey, it's the editing guy here. So, as I was editing this video, I realized that I forgot to answer the question brought up by Alfred Prose in the comment section from last episode. So, apologies there, Alfred. I couldn't answer this on camera, but I'll do my best to answer this right now. Hopefully this makes up for it. But his question is, what are your thoughts on creativity versus not being able to move on from the masterpiece you have created, or contentedness? So that's the first question. I'm guessing that this is I'm guessing this is related to where you are working on your current masterpiece and you just can't move on from it. That I'm guessing this might be related to perfectionism, right? Where you want to perfect this this current piece as much as possible, so much so that you aren't able to move on. And creativity, I mean, one thing could be you're running out of creativity and you want to keep working on this one to keep improving on it. But another thing could be maybe it's just creative overrun and maybe just not satisfied with what you currently got. But at some point you've got to put something out to, I don't know, make sure that you're able to actually deliver on what you want, right? And sometimes you have to be satisfied that you can't get 100%. There's rarely anything in this world that's going to be 100%. You can get to the 99.999s, but at some point, if you want an additional 9, it's going to cost you exponentially more. So at some point, you've just got to be comfortable with that. There might be some things that could be done better, but ultimately, it might be better to move on to a different project and apply your lessons there. When you've already learned your lessons, then it's less costly to, I guess, improve on it, as you've gotten other things more under control. So I guess in that respect, it could be a little bit of a perfectionism. I suggest there that, I mean, it's good to, I guess, keep going at it, keep iterating at it, but at some point feel comfortable that you've done a lot, but it's not perfect, and that's fine with a lot of things. And his second part of the question is he's curious, what activities bring me joy and why? Very broadly, anything that's creating, not like creative, but also creative, I guess, because when you're creating things, you need to be creative, right? But whenever I'm making things, whether it be, I guess, in a game like Minecraft, where I'm making structures or whatnot, or actually physically building things, Lego in the past, for example, those things always bring me joy. When I'm synthesizing things, also things that are insightful, so that's why sometimes I watch a bunch of YouTube, I guess, is because there might be some insight that I gain from it, and it's interesting to see how different elements, different aspects interact, and that analysis aspect is something that I find pretty interesting. So those are some activities that I like. Anything that gets the noggin going, gets the brain running, that's something that I find interesting. And anything that has some depth in it, some rich story behind it, for example. Nothing that's like superficial. That doesn't really interest me too much. So those things are things that get me interested. So thank you for the question. And again, apologies for not being able to answer this on camera. Anyways, back to the episode. But that's all I have for this episode. Thank you all so much for listening or watching. Your support was always appreciated. And if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please feel free to leave them down in the comment section below. But stay humble, take care, and I'll see you all in the next episode.